Hello and welcome to Comics and Beyond. I'm your host, Cutter, and I'm joined today by a good friend, a man who helped me tremendously when I was training by beating the snot out of me, and self-professed angel expert. I am joined today by Alex Grayson.
Hello.
How you doing?
I am doing fine. I guess I'm not dead. I'm not the undead, so that's always a positive.
It's been a long time since I spoke to you, Alex, and it's absolutely great to hear from you. But one thing I didn't know about you, and I only discovered this when we kind of posted up our episode with Raven Creed discussing Buffy the Vampire Slayer, you weighed in about you weighed in and kind of put to rights about Angel being superior. Now, as I said on that episode, I'll confess I haven't gone back and watched Angel since, but growing up I did watch Angel on television as opposed to Buffy. Now maybe that's because it was more of a guy show, whatever that means.
It's a hell of a lot darker.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of, for me, that's always the way I've been inclined. But for yourself, as I said, you're into Angel. Is this a new thing? Is this something that you kind of only came on in lockdown, or when did this start for you?
Yeah, when you were talking about the post, my inner nerd felt the need to just point out the difference in the shows. This is entirely new. It's a complete lockdown thing. I tried to give Buffy a go about 2 years ago, I'd say. I came across the box set in the charity shop and I bought it. And I was with a girl at the time and we watched a few episodes and then we kind of just forgot about it and I never got back around to it. And then I was just sitting at home bored during COVID and Buffy started on TV and I was like, I'm not doing anything later. And then about 3 episodes in, I was like, I kind of love how dumb this is. Like, it doesn't take itself seriously. This is great. And then I think I'm going to say I managed to binge. Like, I don't watch TV. So like for me to be attracted to something has to really, really pique my interest.
Fair enough.
So I'd say I probably ended up binge watching season 2 or 3 of Buffy and just realized, oh wow, I watched like 40 episodes in a week. That's not okay.
It's all right. We don't have jobs anymore either.
Yeah, exactly.
This stuff is excusable.
Like, I'm missing a job and wrestling. I've just filled that whole void with Joss Whedon.
Oh, look, I'm right there. I'm right there with you, man. I'm right there. But as we touched on actually in the very start there, Angel, as opposed to Buffy. So Buffy, it did definitely have its dark moments.
Yeah,
undoubtedly. But it was very much. And please correct me if you think that I'm wrong, but I think Buffy was more aimed at like teenagers, young adults, whereas Angel seemed to go that bit darker and aim for that kind of adult audience a little bit more. Do you think so?
Yeah, I mean, even like I've spent a lot of my time watching interviews with people, and there is a specific interview, I think it's with David Boreanaz, of course, he plays Angel, and he even points out that Buffy was about growing up, and that's the overall tone of the show. So it tends to be directed at teenagers, obviously, in high school in the States.
Of course, to be identifiable. Yeah,
it's trying to be identifiable, so it's a little bit lighter. But Angel, he always perceived as the adult version of Buffy, because it's all about, it even goes so far to represent, lawyers as bad people. Like, that's how far it tries to be more adult in life.
Yeah.
But even like, I think Angel as a show gets to experiment a lot more, purely because of its main character not being quote unquote good.
Yes. Yes. And I think that's part of it with Angel. I suppose what made him such an interesting character was the backstory that was already established in Buffy. So, I mean, you could just go into Angel blind, but, you already had a ready-made leading man, if you know what I mean. You didn't need to learn anything about him. You knew everything about it. Just about the series itself. So it ran for 5 seasons. Now, it did continue afterwards in a comic book form, and we will touch on that as well. But it ran from originally October 99 until May 2004. As I said, for 5 seasons, about 100 odd episodes in total. Now, in kind of doing the research for it, I kind of seen that it with various interviews, etc., Angel seemed to start off more as, so if I'm putting in context of Buffy, so Buffy seemed to start off more of a kind of a parody of horror movies, etc. at the time.
Yeah.
Whereas Angel went more originally, now it did kind of evolve as time went on, but originally went more the film noir route, and kind of had the old school detective going on. Now it did turn into more kind of a supernatural thing. Did you feel like throughout the series that it was, I suppose, a natural progression from the film noir to the supernatural, or did it kind of jostle you a little bit?
I will say that, like, my favorite seasons are the very first 2-3 seasons.
Okay.
Which are the heavier side of the noir kind of genre.
Yes.
It's very obvious. Like, it's subconsciously obvious, I find. Like, I like to break down the episodes and stuff because I really heavily enjoy the direction as much as the storylines in a lot of the stuff, especially Angel. I find it's almost more interesting when you look at the insides of the episode than just what it's originally presenting back at you.
Yeah.
But I think even from the very first episode, in the very first scene, it's completely separated itself instantly and showing us, this is kind of where we're going to go now. We're going to go a little more detective-y kind of thing. We're going to get that vibe going simply just by Angel sitting in a bar drinking.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know why a vampire drinking is so funny in my mind. Like, I just imagine he can't get drunk, but he probably can.
I don't know. That's actually, I never even thought of that. That's, yeah.
But when you look at it even closer, Angel's been like a recovering alcoholic. This is his kind of connection to blood. So even him physically being in a bar is, on a wider scale, makes so much more sense.
Strangely enough, that is a point I was going to touch on, is that there are, like, it is very much like he is the alcoholic kind of, he's one drink away from a relapse.
Yes, yeah, huge.
Like he's and I think, again, to me, that makes him such an intriguing character. He's, Angelus is always there, and he could kind of go down that dark route at any moment. And I think that's kind of what hooks you in and keeps you engaged in it, is that the character is 3-dimensional. He has depth.
And it's kind of a surprising thing to say a vampire has depth.
Because
they're so badly done all the time.
Yep.
That you forget. Like, I like the show not because it's about supernatural stuff. I'm very big into all that. Like, I love Harry Potter and Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I love all of that dumb stuff. Mm-hmm. But it's just how the show is written is so engaging. And I think that's also where Angel and Buffy get separated in tone. Is Angel is incredibly, incredibly funny.
It honestly, it really is.
It's almost funnier than Buffy at times, but it's such a different humor because you have to break up. There's just a constant dread and almost like embodied grunge that Angel brings with him. Yeah.
But it's true as well. I mean, it's true. I suppose with Buffy, it was more almost tongue-in-cheek humor, where Angel was more, exactly like you said, almost a Shakespearean, to a degree. I'm not comparing it to Shakespeare, but the break of the tone, the lightening up of the mood after something very heavy happening. Let's lighten it up a little bit. Let's give the viewer a break.
Yeah, like I guess Buffy does it as self-awareness almost. Yes. That's generally the humor. And that's generally coming from the likes of Xander or Cordelia, who just they're the normal people in the situation, which is always really funny. But it's when Angel himself they make a constant joke about Angel not being able to have sex. Like, I can't remember the actual term they give it. It's like a religious thing, I think. But he's constantly just dismissing it to himself. Like, I'm not.
That's strange, and I'm wondering, is that linked now again? Because to be completely transparent, I haven't watched Angel in a long time. So a lot of it is kind of fuzzy to me. I've obviously done a little bit of research for this interview, but in Buffy specifically, of course, there was, and I think I'm not going to be giving spoilers for a show that was in the 90s. I mean, come on, if you haven't seen it. But I one of the big turning points in Buffy was when he sleeps with Buffy. And that kind of releases things. Is the fact,
a lot of things.
Yeah, is the fact that he can't do that, is that self-imposed because he's afraid of that darkness returning?
It was something I do watch like video essays on things that I'm quite fond of, and so I've dug through the Angel episodes, even the emotionally heartbreaking ones. And it was pointed out to me when I was watching it that it's not the actual sex that turns Angel into Angelus.
That's right. It's the feeling of pure happiness.
It's the moment of happiness he has with her right afterwards, which when I first watched it, I was like, they had sex, now he's evil. Like, I get the reference that they're trying to make. Yes. And that's how the season kind of looks at him like that. He was like the college guy who got what he wanted and now he's an asshole. Like, that's the thing that they're pushing with. But it really is him just being peaceful in bed with her after is what does it. Yes. And as Angel, like, I think it's like maybe the first 2 seasons, Angel, of course, is advanced on by many women, as anyone would. I have no shame in admitting David Boreanaz
revealing his love for David Boreanaz.
Oh man, my love for David Boreanaz goes to Bones, not even Buffy.
He's a beautiful man. There's no argument.
There's no argument. But of course, his whole thing is he's afraid it's happening again, but he does, in a couple of occasions, do the dirty, and nothing happens. And it's even made a storyline at one stage.
Right. So it is more linked to that feeling of pure happiness because he genuinely cared about Buffy.
Yeah, it's not the actual act.
Not
itself.
The act. Yes.
But even it's a dumb curse, really, because like, I don't know why you're watching this if you don't know anything about Buffy and Angel.
Well, actually, on that, I will give a quick rundown of I suppose the premise.
Perfect.
Of Angel, just in case we have somebody who's just tuning in just to hear Alex Grayson's beautiful voice.
Oh yes, one of many fans. My whole 5.
So look, Angel, it chronicles a vampire whose soul, his human soul, was basically restored to him. When you're a vampire in the Buffy verse, you lose your soul. So Angel's soul was restored to him by a Romani curse as a punishment for the murder of one of their own. And basically, he's not Angel, he's Angelus, and he murders, he tortures, he's very, very evil. Basically, the soul returning turns him into Angel, which gives him guilt and remorse, etc. And that leads him to his stint with Buffy in Buffy Vampire Slayer. He then goes to Los Angeles. Sorry, Los Angeles is where Buffy is. What am I saying?
Well, in fairness, it's California where
true,
she is.
That's so very fair. Yes,
he moves to LA.
He goes to LA. That's basically after it's kind of clear that his relationship with Buffy isn't going to work out, and during the majority of the show, again, Alex, please correct me if I'm wrong, he works as a private detective where he and various associates kind of help people restoring, saving souls,
help the hopeless, all that stuff.
There you go, help the helpless. And he battles with evil demons. There's the main bad guys, which are, I think, Wolfram and Hart, and which are a law firm that are supported by occult practices.
It's the dumbest.
It's mental. Right?
The first time I saw that, I was like, please tell me this is a good show.
But, as we were saying, it's kind of very much, especially in season 1 and, well, through most of season 2, it's only in the end of season 2 it starts kind of changing its view. So it's very film noir, very private detective kind of vibe to it the whole way up to maybe the end of season 2, where it does start taking more of a supernatural turn. I mean, I only have good memories of it. It was one of those ones. If you only know David Boreanaz from Bones, it is worth checking out completely.
Oh, totally.
I mean, yeah. If you were to say something, Alex, if you were to try and convince somebody to watch this, what would you say, or even what episode would you tell them to watch? Would it be season 1, episode 1?
I think this first episode is called City of.
I think you're actually correct there. Yeah. I think so.
Yeah, because I remember trying to find it online for the longest time and I couldn't. I watched the whole of Buffy first. I didn't go back and forth.
Now, you see, I was going to ask that next. Do you think it's something that, like, not necessary, but do you think it would help to see, like, Buffy, even at least until Angel kind of exits?
So, okay. Like, if I had to recommend an episode, it is an episode you'd need to see Buffy for.
Okay.
But you don't need to see Buffy to enjoy Angel, because it kind of catches you up. Any information that is being translated over from the previous show, they kind of give you a quick rundown. If it's not even like previously on Buffy, it's the characters give you enough of the information going in.
And it doesn't feel forced or anything. It's just kind of like
that's the kind of beauty of it. And like you were saying earlier, I didn't find it jarring where it changed tone from noir into really supernatural, because it just it flows so well. Yeah. The episode I recommend, I don't know what the actual episode is called or the number, but it's an episode where Buffy does show up.
Okay.
She doesn't show up an awful lot. So even in the first 2 seasons of Angel, by the end of season 2, they kind of pushed every Buffy character away, other than the mainstays of Cordelia and Wesley.
Yes.
They go on their complete own competent run without needing her around. There's reference, of course, at times, and there's nice little references during it. But the episode is... Previously, Angel had been in Sunnydale. He had gotten bad word that Buffy was in trouble, but he didn't want to physically see Buffy. He didn't want her to know he was there, but he was helping her in the background.
Right.
It's the kind of dumb thing of, it'll be too hard to see you. But all the other characters in Buffy see him. Even Spike, who is tied up to a chair at a dinner table, notices that Angel's around, and they manage to keep the secret the entire episode. Even Giles has him in the house, well aware that Angel is there. Buffy never sees him. It's done so well, and they sit down to have dinner with Spike tied up, and I think he has a gag in his mouth, and then Xander lumbers out that, oh yeah, even Angel was here, and then the episode just cuts off. So she comes into LA, I assume to see her dad or something, but she's there to tell Angel, like, she has a row. They have a massive argument.
Okay.
And you can just tell the chemistry the two of them have. They've already had 3 seasons together, so they have very, very good chemistry.
Yes.
They have this big argument. The demon breaks in and all the hijinks ensues. But Angel manages to kill the angel, or not the angel, kill the demon. Kill the demon, and the demon's blood mixed with his blood. This is where Angel gets very strange, and Buffy as a whole. It gets mixed with his blood, and it takes away his vampirism. He becomes human, which is a very strange idea, I thought. So I was like, this is in the first season. This is maybe about 6 or 7 episodes in. It's not
so
that
early
far.
on. Okay.
Very early.
Yeah.
And I fair play to them for being that bold to, okay, well, this is what the main character is, but we're going to take it away just for this episode.
Yeah.
So the first thing he goes and does is find Buffy out in the daylight, which is a really nice shot scene.
Because of course it's a big deal. Yeah,
it's a big deal.
Yeah.
So she's like on the beach or something. I don't know how he found her, but she's on the beach and he walks out into the sunlight, and then it's just the instant chemistry. Now you would assume for a couple who have been through an awful lot, who are madly in love at one stage and also was stabbed to death once, you would think the instant reaction is, okay, well, we're going to go and ride now because you're not going to turn evil once we do it, and you're not going to break my teacher's neck afterwards. You assume that's the first thing they're going to go and do, but the next scene is them sitting down and having tea, which is my favorite thing in the world.
But you see, I like that as well, because it's more, as opposed, I suppose, going down the obvious, it's more appreciating the little things that he could never do.
Exactly. And that is such a big point.
Yeah.
That even she points out in arguments against him. It's the little things that other guys that come into her life make them better than Angel, which is such a bitchy thing to do. She's such a bitch sometimes. Like, I love her, but I hate her.
Right, okay, I'm not fucking getting in the middle of a Raven and Alex Grayson fight. This is...
Oh, don't get me wrong. She is... this is a slight tangent. This is bound to happen with this. Buffy...
tangents are encouraged. Don't worry.
Buffy, the way she's written.
Yeah.
I was even saying this to a friend of mine who I've recently made watch the episodes with me. And she has put up with me, and a fair play to her for this.
I love the way you say, I love when anybody says made watch. I just always get this image of just them like just tied to the chair with like Clockwork Orange, the eyelids held open, going, "You will watch this."
This is what I said. Like, this is my my COVID obsession has come in handy for countless people who've had to hear me talk about this.
Well, you see, that's where shows like this come in. You can get it all out of your system, you know.
The way Buffy's written, and like I think, like, I'll even use Sabrina as an example. The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. I think she's written for you want to be attracted to her to an extent. It's not an overall sexuality thing. It's just that she's written so well that you're like, oh, well, I could see myself. You know, like people do that with things. Sometimes you put yourself as the character, which Alex Grayson has done on several occasions with Spike, or you know. It happens, but
I think that's part of the writing. Obviously,
of course,
you
it's good writing
exactly.
that you can relate to this person.
Exactly.
Buffy, I always found like I couldn't do that. Like, not that I wanted to, but I never saw her as
you didn't find a connection there with her.
There's a connection, but it wasn't romantic. I just felt I could be her friend. She's so well written that I feel like I could just slot into being a part of the Scoobies, and I'd be perfect, you know, that kind of way.
Yes, yeah. And you know, that is a big deal. You know, that is a big deal with writing, and something that lacks in various shows that, look, we've all seen them, you know, shows that we just have disliked for whatever reason. And it's usually that. It's usually comes down to the writing and the lack of, I suppose, care and depth that you're putting into your characters. You know, it's important that you know, your characters are somewhat, whether they're an anti-hero like Spike, I suppose, or you know, somebody who's just more straight up hero like Buffy. They all need to be able in some way to connect. You know,
like if you can't get it's even the same with wrestling. You'll be told on several occasions, if you can't connect with an audience, you're just out there for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, just doing moves. And I suppose that's actually a really good example of Buffy, because if you didn't care about her friends or her emotional connection in things, she's just out there doing karate kicks with a stake in her hand.
Exactly.
You know?
That's exactly it. And I mean, this is kind of one of the reasons that I have enjoyed speaking to wrestlers about this type of stuff. Is a lot of it can be, you know, it is theatrics in its own way.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is about connecting with an audience and telling a story. So it is, you know, that I suppose, it's exactly what you said. It's connecting with the crowd. Granted, obviously, there's a lot of differences.
It's a different context.
Yeah,
but in the basic form, it's the same.
Yes, we spoke about this about Buffy, and specific the Hush episode.
Episode.
And how, very much like a wrestler, those actors and actresses had to portray feelings using only their bodies, no words, and try and portray their message that way, and how difficult that must have been.
You know, I actually never even thought of that connection.
That's what we were saying. To direct to act, it's the same type of thing. You're trying to get it across without using your words.
Yeah, back to
continue.
Yeah, back to the actual episode I was talking about.
Yes.
I'll try keep this on track somehow.
Oh, no problem, man. Honestly, as I say to all the guests on this show, it's we're laid back here. You talk about what you want. I'm just along for the ride. That's it.
I'm educating.
Yeah, exactly.
So the whole premise of this now is they do their sit down and they have tea, because Angel's Irish, even though he doesn't have an accent, which is always confusing, but his accent is terrible when he does do it. So
to be fair, he's like 240 years old.
Well, okay, this is the thing. If he went mute for like 100 years, I guess that makes sense. But that's just David Boreanaz not being able to do an Irish accent.
Damn it, don't overanalyze these things.
Well, this even breaks my brain even more, because the guy who plays Spike isn't British, and it melted my head when I first heard it. I was like, he originally auditioned for the role of Spike with a Texas accent. Oh, I've seen the tape. It's
and they were like, no, we'll go with British.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
And to be fair, he is James Marsden. He is very, very, very good at it. He is very good at that.
His facial mannerisms are something I cannot unsee. They are so pristine, and they're so well timed. Like, he just has an understanding of it, and it's so good. And David Boreanaz,
he's an actor who really goes with the kind of subtleties as opposed to the over the top stuff. He really kind of plays with just a little movement of eyes or something like that, and it really gets it across.
Like, Sarah Michelle Gellar is obviously fantastic, and in the scene I'm going to talk about, she is so damn good that it hits you in the soul. Even if you don't have one, it hits you in the soul. Between like her, James Marsters, Anthony Head, who plays Giles, and David Boreanaz, they're so good at the subtleties, especially Anthony Stewart Head. It's the things he doesn't say when you're watching the episodes that just make you feel like, I want him to be my dad, you know. But they're sitting down having tea and they're catching up, I guess, and then they get to the fun part that they both really want to do right on the table. But then it makes you, it's all character building, and it's all also making your heart ache without realizing it, because Angel is experiencing food that has been invented in the last 200 years. So he's having ice cream and cookies, and they're just sitting in bed eating and talking, and it's really, really heartwarming. But then it becomes the realization that Angel's whole purpose, especially at the start of the series, is to help the helpless. That's their little slogan that Cordelia gives them. And he can't. He's a normal person now. And that becomes really problematic when the demon they thought they killed has come back to life. It's regenerated.
So he's stuck with the idea of sacrifice his own happiness for the greater good.
Yes, which is such a thing that is a common thread. And you think it'd get really boring watching it, but they come up with new ideas every time.
Yeah.
So Angel, who nearly gets himself killed, trying to kill this demon as a person, who ends up costing Buffy getting injured as well in the process for her trying to save him. He goes to these guys called oracles, and he's asking, is there a way for me to become useful, to can I just be a vampire? Can you just give it back to me to be able to help these people? And the kind of dilemma they give him is, well, look, we can give it to you, but we're gonna have to take the day back.
Yes. Wait, they're actually taking the memory of the day.
They take the physical day back, because they also alert to him that Buffy's gonna die, as all Slayers do. They'll die young.
Yeah.
But their kind of implication is that it's gonna happen real soon, and you can't help her.
Okay.
So it's such a hard moment, you can tell, for him. But even when I was watching, I was like, oh damn, I didn't think about this at all.
Yeah.
You're so caught up in their romance that you forget about the actual being separately, how important they are to this world that they've built. So Angel's deal is, okay, well, I'll take the day back. But of course, now, Angel, you have to remember the day, because we can't have you making the same mistake
You
again.
need to be punished, yeah. Just because you're not getting enough torment as it is.
Oh,
here's some more.
Like, you think he's a broody man, but oh my god, he has every reason.
Yeah.
So he goes back to her and he tells her, well, you're gonna forget it. I'm not. And the scene that happens is one of the hardest things I've ever watched. Like, I don't get upset watching things. Like, it's not me trying to be a tough wrestler. I just don't. If I'm not emotionally connected, which I'm not to a lot of TV shows, I don't get upset. I haven't cried when the Titanic fell. I don't care about that. Like, you know what I mean? This was so hard to watch because they're standing there and it's just all raw emotion of her bawling, crying, and him trying to explain. And I think probably for the first time you see Angel cry. For the character that they're presenting him as.
I think you're quite correct there, actually, because he's always been this kind of, not cold, but
he's distant.
Yes, that's the word I'm looking for. Yeah,
he's that distant, strong, composed character that
the kind of archetypical strong, silent type.
Yeah,
you know.
And for someone who went from having no real charisma in Buffy to being the most boring character technically. The way he was written, his story was interesting, but the actual character was terrible. He was just good looking, and then the fans wanted more of him. But he went from being that kind of boring, stereotypical hard man to just in tears, telling her, "Well, look, we have to do this because if you die, I can't help." And it's such a hard scene to watch, and it. From one of my many video essays that I went through, you can tell that Sarah Michelle Gellar dropped kind of being Buffy. She got genuinely upset.
She got choked up on it.
You can see it when it's the scene they use as well, because you can see David Boreanaz to stop telling Buffy to stop crying, to like, Sarah, relax, it's okay. You can see it very, very subtly. Like, it takes, you have to zoom in, but you can see it. And it's such a, like, by the end of that, you're so like, oh damn, that hurt. And then it goes 12 o'clock, as it always does in these things, and it jumps back to them in a massive argument where we saw them at the start of the episode.
Right. So it's even more so it's going back to when they fought as opposed to
this is when the day resets. Now it's them having a full-on argument, and the demon breaks in like it did before, but now Angel knows how to kill it properly, which he does, and when he turns around, she's gone.
Right.
And you can just see the sadness now. Like, the show is so based obviously on action and the fun of the supernatural, but man, the emotional episodes are the episodes that really get you invested.
And I think that's kind of, again, that's a fine line, which I think you need, to again make you invest. You can't just have 100 miles an hour fight constantly. There has to be something in there to make you give a damn. And actually this brings us on to the next point I was going to say, is that Angel in general, I think it's fair to say, explored an awful lot of trust, it kind of as a central focus for a lot of the show. So like in the first 2 seasons, there was like just little bits of like deceit and stuff around, but in the last 3 seasons of it, I mean, it seemed to be the kind of structure of the show was based around trust. Like almost every episode, I think, included some kind of like double cross or trickery or illusion, or something like that.
A lot of I'm gonna lie to keep the peace sort of thing between the group of them, and it's things you even forget about when you do watch it until it comes back up, or sometimes it doesn't. But
and that's it. Is like it's maintaining continuity with that. Now in season 5, it's kind of repeatedly emphasized that the characters can't trust anybody in their kind of new situation without giving too much away. And obviously it's also notable, the series in general, for kind of like harsh betrayals between like the main characters.
Oh, there's a very harsh betrayal.
Yes, you know what I'm saying. Which we can go into. I don't think, this is a series that started in 1999.
Flash spoiler warning.
Look, if you are listening, I'm going to warn you right now, and especially later on when we kind of come to facts and stuff like that. Anybody out there, if you don't want it spoiled, I suggest you do click off, because we will. If we don't have them now, there will be spoilers later on.
I don't know if
I do apologize for that.
I don't know if my tangent made you want to watch that one episode I was on about.
No, it definitely did. And but just a warning to everybody is that, look, the show has been out a while now, but there will, if you are thinking of going watching it and you don't want anything ruined for you, there will be spoilers in some shape or form between now and the end. I can guarantee you that.
Look, I'm like, the show Well, Buffy ended when I was like 3, so
oh man, don't make me feel old, for the love of Jesus.
I'm just taking shots at you and Foxy, basically.
Fucking hell, yeah, I know. Yeah, joke will be on you. When we'll have your audio, we'll edit it to say whatever we want.
Ah, God damn it!
Alex Grayson cancelled.
It's only me talking about David Boreanaz.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, kind of, I suppose, touching on those harsh portrayals. Obviously, if you want to go into it, there's one particular very memorable one. I'll let you educate our listeners.
So I my memory is a little foggy, but I think it's the end of season 3, and Angel gets his son.
Yes, Connor,
who
yes.
is one of the most badly written characters, I think. Like, I'm reading the comics currently, and he's a little bit better as a character.
Yes.
But my God, he's such a mess. And it's kind of a shame, because the way Connor gets introduced is another very heartbreaking moment, and it's very, very subtle. Mm-hmm. Angel loves its prophecies, which goes around Connor and Angel quite a lot.
In fact, I think the one that you're talking about right now, correct me if I'm wrong, and I will let you go again now in a second, but I think the particular storyline you're talking about with regards to prophecy is almost showing that on the theme of trust again, that even prophecy can be broken.
Yes, it's a very good thing that they throw in quite often, is that prophecies are either wrong all the time. There's always a prophecy. It's something he points out, and it's always wrong, or it's always mistranslated.
Yes.
Which in this case it is mistranslated. But at the end of season 3, Angel gets his son Connor from a miracle birth, essentially. But the prophecy reads that the child will not be born. And they also read at some stages that the father will kill the son. And that's very, very important throughout the end of that season and the next season, because I think Wesley, who is like the librarian sort of dude, he's called a watcher. He was a watcher previously.
Yes.
He has all the information, basically. He's the guy you'd go to. And while Connor is essentially being born, Wesley is researching what this prophecy they've come across, what it really means. They're trying to break it down. And the bit that they do know is that the child just won't be born. And technically the child isn't born. What happens is that the mother, Darla, who has this whole connection to Angel, she sired Angel, she made him a vampire originally. They have this very long history, very conflicted history. And she wants to kill the baby because she knows it has a soul. And as a vampire without a soul, she doesn't want that in her life. Even though in a funny way, they write it as like mood swings of pregnancy. It's the soul coming in and out of Darla, her actions. So sometimes she's very loving towards Angel, and then she's cold all of a sudden, you know?
Yes.
They're being hunted by a vampire hunter who they pissed off in like the 1800s, which is also very horrific what they did. They turned his child into a vampire. And then the only way he found the killer was to throw her out into the sunlight and watch her burn to death, which is very harsh.
This is what we were saying earlier on, folks, about it being just a bit darker.
Just a tad. Like Darla and Angel murder his wife and his like unborn baby, I think, and then do that to the born daughter. So the vampire hunter has a very good reason to be angry with them. He has them cornered in an alleyway, which looks is a very tense scene. Like the scenes are getting tense and tense at the end of the season, and I found the whole storyline coming up to this was very monotonous. I had some very good twists with just the characters interacting, and Angel technically being the bad guy in this case.
Yes,
I was very fond of that idea, but when it came down to it, the vampire hunter has every chance to kill them, and Darla's action is to birth the baby by killing herself. Which is, again, really well shot. That's why I love the scene so much. She says something along the lines of, Angel, this baby needs to know this is the only good thing we've ever done together. And the way it's shot is Angel holding her hand. That's all you see. And it's all moody and raining, because most cool scenes in Angel are in a laneway. Like literally all the laneway scenes are amazing. She's holding her hand, and then you just see her hand dust away. which is very like, oh God, she just did that sort of thing, you know. And on the grounds is Connor, and the vampire hunter decides not to kill them for some reason, which is elaborated on a lot later. So that scene by itself is beautifully made. I find actually a little side tangent again that Buffy is very character driven, obviously, but Angel really understands its characters and pushes that to the moon. There's scenes with Faith from previously from Buffy. There's an episode with her that is so dark and so messed up in how she's proceeding things. But the character building is so good.
And this again, like I know we've touched on it several times, but I think it's important for I suppose for anybody who hasn't seen it and maybe thinking, oh, it's in the Buffyverse, that's not my thing or whatever like that. Yes, it is in the Buffyverse, and yes, they are of course intrinsically linked together, but they're kind of unique in the way that they're very different shows.
They redefine everything as well, I've noticed. Yeah. If you look, like, again, for someone who maybe had watched maybe a bit of Buffy, like my brother, for example, watched the whole thing when he was younger, but doesn't have a great recollection of it. Like he has bits and parts of it. He even pointed out to me, he's like, the way you see Cordelia now in Buffy, when I'd only started watching it, he's like, wait until you see her in Angel, because it's such a turnaround.
Oh, yeah. Actually, we were discussing this on our podcast about Buffy, on how Cordelia does change, like her character goes from, I suppose, being almost the mean girl type thing.
Yeah, she's very stereotypical mean girls, and she's written as really dumb, but she's also really smart. And she's not extremely well written or well rounded. She's there for laughs originally,
but she does evolve, especially in Angel. She evolves so much that she becomes an integral part of the show.
She, by the end of it, she becomes such a strong, good representation, I think, of like a strong woman. I'd
have to agree.
She has her life, as messy as it is. That's not her, it's just her surrounding of the job that she has. But she's such a strong, well-composed character. And it even goes into this brief scene that we see in an episode of Faith, where the characters are so well-rounded that if you watch the fight scene that they have in this apartment that they're in, Angel doesn't offensively attack her the entire time. Okay. He is constantly on the defense, and he's just trying to talk her down. Now, he's a bit sassy about it. He tries to talk her down. But he does this quite a lot, and you see this, it's kind of the noir sense of it, and it's something that you see throughout the series, is how Angel deals with people. He's so good at it. And it kind of links back to our original thing of this plot twist, where you can see that Wesley has full trust in Angel in this situation.
Yes. Yeah.
And Angel trusts Wesley. And Wesley becomes one of the first people that Angel truly, truly trusts. It's Cordelia, because he gets lumbered with her kind of originally, but he learns to love her very fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he starts to understand that Wesley is the best help he's going to get at a time. So even in this scene, the only time he is offensively attacking her is when she tries to actually kill him, and they go tumbling out a window. And Faith goes down this whole suicide by cop route. If you actually look at the whole episode, that's the entire time, that's what she's doing. She keeps referring to herself as a bad person. And this is also kind of where the little line of deceit between Angel and Wesley starts, because at the end of this episode, Faith is banging on Angel's chest, like, kill me, I'm bad. And Angel tried to hold her and kind of like coddle her, I guess, like a child. Like, he's trying to calm her down because he understands where she's coming from. Faith had done a lot of awful things, especially just torturing Wesley in this apartment quite brutally.
I was going that was pretty recent.
So you understand both of the characters' sides here, and there's a little subtle thing. I don't know if it was done on purpose, but if you watch this episode, I think it's also in the first season, you see Faith has tortured Wesley with this piece of glass, and there's blood on the glass. She drops it out into the laneway, but she's kind of looking at it very distantly, like she's not actually looking at it, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like, her mind is so far away from what she's actually doing. Like,
I know, that 1,000-yard stare kind of thing.
Yeah, like, she's gone, and she drops into the laneway, which you would probably think, for someone being a slayer, that's a bad mistake. He's a vampire. He's going to pick up the blood. So this is where you kind of say maybe the character was so driven past any sort of humanity, that she just wanted it to be gone. So Angel tries to rehabilitate her. He wants to help her, which goes into the next episode. But the very last shot of that episode is Wesley, who's gotten down into the laneway with a knife. And the last thing you see is just a knife dropping and Angel holding Faith in the laneway. And then in the next episode, Wesley and Angel butt heads about the whole thing. They point out, look, I thought we only helped good people. She's not a good person.
Yeah, she's a bad one.
And Angel points out, we help the hopeless. Faith is hopeless. So that's and it's a very good conflict. And they butt heads a couple of times, but in the majority of this show, they are on the same page. Wesley is putting everything into helping Angel. And when Angel has to help Wesley, he gives it his all compared to anyone, I'd feel. He's almost like they're brothers, if that makes sense. It's not maybe written that way, but they just have this untalkable bond with each other just from everything they've been through.
Yeah.
So they get to the stage where, this is the prophecy, and Wesley reads the prophecy as the son will be killed. And the way he's obviously seeing is that Angelus will be reborn. And his first thing he's going to do is murder the baby, which is such a horrible thing to think about.
Which again, as we touched on, viewers there earlier on, Angelus is pure evil form of Angel and doesn't have a soul and wouldn't think twice about killing an innocent in that way.
Yeah, like it's even, I think it's the best example of it is if someone has seen the show, or I'll probably get into it a little bit later, I'm sure, with Spike, is the way the vampires are written are very different. Even though Angel and Spike are very similar, and Spike as a vampire is a lot worse. They constantly reference Angelus as being the worst vampire in history, second to Spike. Spike is the second version of Angel almost. And if you look at it, if you see Angel as Liam in Galway originally.
Liam from Galway.
Yeah. You see that Angel isn't a person. He's kind of he's a drunk and he doesn't have any purpose in life. He's just kind of a nobody. He's almost given up hope. Maybe he's not so open about it, but that's how he's gone down his life. And then if you look at Spike before he gets turned into a vampire as William, William is a poet and he's very romantic and he likes love and all this, which translate over to Spike. You see him be very truly in love with Drusilla originally, and later on that whole thing that I don't want to talk about. Like you can see the previous characteristics of that person in Spike. You can see that he is very well spoken and that sort of thing. Even though he's a punk rocker, he's very well spoken. You see it then with Angel that he wasn't really a person. So the vampire, the monster inside him, is horrific because it has no person to connect to anymore.
It's true. And actually, in general, I think the themes of Angel deal with that. And we touched on earlier, but it's in reference to what you were saying as well, is that like while Buffy was kind of built around that angst of adolescence, the kind of coming of age stuff, Angel kind of goes about the different stages of adulthood. So like, for instance, Cordelia, who was like the most popular girl in Sunnydale, she was superficial and all that. She, as you said, she develops from kind of this insecure young woman into
all about her looks.
But she kind of, once she hits the real world, she kind of evolves into this mature badass character in a lot of ways. Similarly, Wesley, who kind of starts off
as such a comedic character,
uptight, bookish, comedic, and all that. He kind of gets this quiet confidence and ruthless action about him, And there's kind of it's on what you're saying, that those kind of themes that it deals with differently and kind of gives those characters more depth and kind of fleshes them out that little bit more. Again, as we were saying several times, because it makes you connect with them more and makes you feel like they're real people. And much like with Spike and Angel, you see who they once were to what they are now.
Yeah, like I said, Spike, you can see who he was, but the thing with Angelus and Angel is that there is such a difference between them.
Yes.
Because Angelus is a brutal bastard. Like, just a quick example is like he likes to torment people. Drusilla, who we meet in Buffy, he decided it'd be fun to drive her insane first and then make her immortal and insane. He goes so far to, and it's one of the most unsettling scenes I think in all of the shows between Buffy and Angel, is when Angel has access to Buffy's house, but now he's Angelus. And what he decides to do is draw a photo of, or like draw a picture of her while she's asleep and leave it on her pillow. That is one of the most unsettling things I found in the entirety of the show, because he had every right just to drop her dead, and he didn't.
I mean, that's one of the things, even from Buffy, I've always thought Angelus was written so well as just one of just pure evil.
And they do it so subtly at the start.
Yeah, exactly. Because
you're
not in your face.
Yeah. You constantly hear, oh, well, Angelus was the worst vampire that's ever existed. And we're like, oh, yeah, of course he is. Of course he's the worst. Like, that's how you just hear it. And then you just see it and you're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. You're like, oh, God, what is this? It's a fair thing. And actually, on that, what we'll do is I think we'll touch a little bit on, we've kind of talked about Cordelia and Angel to a degree, and Wesley even. But one we haven't touched on much before we move on to the comic book section of it, I do want to touch on Spike as well, who, of course, character once again introduced in Buffy and very much kind of came into Angel later on.
He's in the very, very last season.
Yeah, from what I remember. And I think
he has one appearance before.
Am I correct saying he kind of came on more full-time when Cordelia was gone? Is that correct?
Yeah.
He kind of almost replaced her in a way.
He was originally supposed to replace her as the one to ground Buffy in situations like Cordelia had generally. But he kind of got away from that very fast. Sorry to cut you off.
No, continue.
We were saying about the storyline. I'll just do it very, very
quickly.
Sorry.
Yes, I do apologize.
Because I feel like if people watching, what the hell were they talking about?
We're good. I have a habit of, I go on tangents just as much as well.
I'll run through it because I'm just waffling. So the whole storyline ends up being Connor. Wesley's so afraid of what Angel could do, and Angel's showing hints of very protectiveness. He doesn't let anybody look after Connor except Cordelia, and even Cordelia forces herself onto that to try to be like a surrogate mother, because of course Angel's going to need help. Even like bringing Connor to the hospital, they have to give Angel a fake name and Cordelia just to be the mother, just so it works. And someone needs to be there for him during the day, not just at night. That's something they point out very clearly to him. So the trust is a little bit tainted from different experiences Wesley and Angel have had with situations. And Wesley gets so torn up about what to do because he doesn't want to tell Angel, because of course Angel's instantly going to go, well, that's not real, that kind of way. And I think maybe someone had spiked Angel's blood, something to do with Wolfram and Hart spiking his blood, where he briefly goes into a bit of an Angelus mode, not fully. If someone had put human blood in his drink, to kind of put that instinct back into him that he had been erasing. So that kind of worries. There's a bit of an episode moment. He has a breakdown and goes into this bit of rage when something happens. So Wesley's response is, oh, well, look, you guys go fight the demon. I'll take Connor for the night. Don't worry about him. I'll bring him to the park beside my house in the morning, and then I'll bring him back to the office. And you're like, oh, well, that's nice of Wesley. Maybe he's starting to understand, Angel's not what the prophecy is. Of course, we don't realize that Wesley's plan is to steal Connor and run away from him for his own sake, in his own mind. And when you look at the characters, you can completely understand Wesley's point, because he's seen Angelus very briefly. And then you also see what Angel's reaction is. There's a whole sub thing again with the vampire hunter, and he has all these followers, and the followers, one of them goes up to Wesley and like, I'm going to rat this guy out. We can, Angel can go kill him. And what she does is slit Wesley's throat and steals Connor, which when you're already like, oh, Wesley's a bastard, that kind of way. Yeah. Instantly you're like, oh no, like he's gonna die.
Yeah, holy shit, Wesley is gonna die now.
Because it's not like a little nick, it is full and deep, and it's really well graphically done, I guess. Then Connor gets taken into a hell dimension with the vampire hunter. And it's a whole thing. I don't know how I feel on that. But the next part is the perfect, like we have said several times, that the show is so well rounded as a characters, and you don't need to see Buffy to understand this scene. You don't need to. If you've just seen Angel, you'll get 100% this whole season. next thing you see is Wesley in hospital. Gunn and Fred, who are additions in the later seasons to the team, they find Wesley, they bring him to the hospital, and once Angel has dealt with the vampire hunter and Connor is gone, he goes and checks on Wesley, and he's like, okay, is he okay? Like, I'll go and talk to him quietly. And you're like, I'm surprised Angel is holding this so well. Like, he is so well composed all the time, but this must be so hard for him. His son is literally just left. Like, he got taken away, like maybe a half an hour before this. And then all of a sudden, Angel tries to strangle Wesley, who is in bits in the hospital. Like, he takes the pillow and tries to smother him, and he is screaming all obscenity. He's like, Angel never raises his voice, really. He does to assert dominance in arguments.
But he's always that kind of understated, brooding.
He never shouts. And this is like in season 4-ish. No, it's season 3, I think. It's all of that. So you are well established that he's not that kind of person. And you see him just snap and try to murder Wesley right in the hospital because he blames Wesley for the child being taken, which I guess on his end, you'd fully believe that, nobody knows why Wesley was trying to steal Connor. As far as they're concerned, I think they assume he was going to give him over to the vampire hunter anyway. That's the whole thing that's going on, I think, in their head.
Yeah.
It's all just a really well shot scene. But I think that's to tie back in, which we're just about to bring up with Spike, is that ruthless kind of aggression. There's a wrestling reference for you. The ruthless aggression that Angel shows in this scene, and just shouting obscenities, screaming, and going, just saying, I'm going to kill you, which is nothing he'd ever say before. That's a lot more Angelus. That's even a stretch, I think, because Angelus is quite cocky compared to angry. Spike, on the other hand, when you first meet him, is just full of this pent-up anger and very, very cocky, but very sexual at the same time.
That's kind of how he's been from the get-go.
Yeah,
with Spike, he's kind of he as you said, he's oozing this kind of charm and sexuality, obviously, but he's also, he's very dark,
very violent, very violent, abruptive.
Yes.
And that's how we originally meet him. And it's one of my favorite scenes is when Spike pulls into Sunnydale, where he crashes through the sign in the car.
Oh, with,
with punk music playing out, which they redo later when he comes back to Sunnydale after leaving at the end of season 2. He comes back in season 3 very briefly after getting dumped. And they recreate the exact same scene. If you watch it, he comes through the sign again, but instead of him stepping out and the camera going up, he falls out because he's locked.
I always thought it was a missed opportunity to not have Billy Idol playing. Just,
that's such a, like, if you don't know,
I know it's an obvious one, but come on,
you know what Spike looks like. Google it, because he is just Billy Idol, and it's Billy Idol. Joke. It's a joke in the show at one stage, and I don't know why I remember so vividly. I think it's in the last season where they're very questionable on Spike because, of course, he was the bad guy, and now he's helping them.
Yeah.
That Buffy goes looking for him, and she's asked the bouncer, has this guy been in here? And she describes what he looks like. He's a trench coat and bleach blonde hair, and he goes, to Billy Idol wannabe? And she goes, no. She goes, no, actually, he gave the look to Billy. That's not the point.
See, I love little things like that, and of course, leading on, what we'll do is, I think, Alex, if it's okay with you, we will talk just a little bit about the expanded universe when we went into comics, etc. With it, which does feature, a lot of those characters again, because you were saying you have you finished or have you begun kind of reading these?
So my eBay troubles have become such a thing because there is a current run of comics.
That's right. I was going to discuss them. So for anybody who doesn't know, okay, there's quite a bit in there. Okay, now
way too much.
Yeah, there's quite a lot. So there's a lot of works that are kind of set at particular times in the Buffyverse. For example, there's an Angel miniseries called Long Night's Journey, which was specifically set in early Angel season 2. And then there's Angel comics. Just to talk a little bit about the publishers, Angel comics in general were originally published by Dark Horse, which did it from 2000 to 2002. They then went to IDW.
They got seasons, I think. the season ones are IDW.
I think, well, IDW got the rights to it in 2005, and they've been releasing them since.
Okay.
Now, again, you see, this is where I'm talking about there's so much, and we were saying there is because even from the Angel comics comes an entire series of Spike comics.
Yes.
As well, which are like Spike versus Dracula, Spike Asylum, Spike Shadow Puppets, and basically, as of November 2007 to February 2009, the story of the series was continued canonically in lieu of a season 6. So much like Buffy,
yes,
where it ended the TV show, it continued for an extra season or two in comic book form. So basically, season 6 of Angel is a 17-issue maxi series, which is called Angel After the Fall, and that is written by Brian Lynch, and plotted by Lynch and Joss Whedon, as well. And basically, that spun off into numerous Angel titles set after the television series, of which I think they're all now considered canon. Until basically 2011, when Angel's rights went back to Dark Horse, who have begun to publish Angel comics, which you were saying, under the banner of Angel and Faith.
Well, those are actually still old ones, and they're still...
That's right, they're 2011, seasons. I think.
So the current run is done by Boom Comics.
That's right, Boom, who we have talked about at length on, I think, every single episode of this podcast. We've mentioned Boom.
So I finished the show and then I started reading the comics, I think, or whatever way I came across them, because I was watching it mostly in lockdown. Nothing was open. So I eventually got around to the comics and realized there was a current run of comics that only
The way you say I was watching it in lockdown, as if we're not still in lockdown.
Well, things reopened briefly and I could go waste my money.
Oh, that gave you the little reprieve you needed. Sorry.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. This is where my real addiction started. I started buying figures. Oh man, they're not as pricey as some.
You went all in.
Oh, I have a Spike. That's a limited edition one. There's only.
Is Foxy aware of this? Because
I've told Foxy. I'm pretty sure.
I'm surprised he hasn't been soliciting you for just trying to sell you everything. That's what Foxy does.
well, me and Foxy have a good working relationship when it comes to me buying things from him. I have asked him if he comes across anything Buffy to let me know. But the way it seemed to come across was, I think the run started in the late 2018 for Boom Comics, and then it continued into 2020, if I'm correct. I'm not a fan of the Boom Comics.
Oh, really? Okay.
I've tried. So I read the first couple of volumes. I generally buy things if they're a long over arc. I like to buy the volume just for it's easier for me to remember what happened.
You like to get the whole lot together and kind of
and what I'll generally do is I'll buy the volume, and if I was a real fan of it or come across a nice variant cover, I'll buy a single issue as well.
I get you.
I just like to have those things. So I bought I think it's called Ring of Fire. It's basically the Boom comic introduces Buffy again, in meeting Xander and Willow, meeting Angel, and doing that whole storyline. But they changed it a lot, which of course they're going to have to do. It's a different way of doing the season, I guess. But I'm really not a fan of the Buffy version. I started reading the Angel Boom comic before I had watched Angel.
Okay. That's a kind of a unique...
Yeah, it was just how it came across. I was trying to find how to watch Angel. It was a ridiculous amount of money to buy the box set. So I was trying to find my way around it. And then they started showing it on TV. I'd finished Buffy before it ended on TV. That's what I'd done. I'd come across, I think all 4. It's called, it streams everything. Even though it's going to be on E4, it does everything in once. So that was how I ended up watching it.
That's quite a unique way to come into them. Usually, anybody I talk to around with various franchises and stuff, with exceptions like the well-known ones like Batman, Spider-Man, etc. To come into a show like this where the comics came later, it's kind of a little unusual to start on the comics and then work into the series.
Yeah,
and I imagine gives you actually a bit of a unique perspective on it too.
Yeah, I don't know if it was such a good thing. It's not a bad thing at all, but I feel like I like the difference. And maybe that was my issue with Buffy, where I had seen the show and I know how the show works. So when I read the comic and they changed it, I wasn't a fan of it.
Yes.
Whereas now I Red Angel, I knew a little bit about it and I knew some of the characters, but I didn't know how everything connected. They've changed things again. Like Fred, for example, who's a very important character at the end of the show.
Yes.
When we meet her in Boom Comics, she's been kidnapped by Wolfman Hart, who knows she's a witch, but she's not a witch in the show. She's a very powerful witch, but she's crazy. So this sort of stuff. And I was like, oh, this is really interesting. So I read that, and I'm a big fan, and I'm still trying to read the Boom version because it takes a different take. Like we meet Oz in Angel, but he's not in the Buffy comic.
Yes.
Spike is in the very early start of this. And then there's also the season books, which I've only started reading Angel.
This is after the fall, is it?
This is after the fall.
Yes, yeah.
So I've read the first volume of season 8 of Buffy. Which apparently is really highly regarded. The rest of the seasons are quite good, but I think it's trying to find its feet. Whereas then the Angel comic after the fall literally is about straight after the show.
Yeah, I was going to say it is literally it's literally another season. It's picking up exactly where it ended.
Fantastic so far.
Yeah.
I have the second issue of it, so I like second volume, so I need to check how much longer is actually left in the whole thing. I have picked up also Spike after the fall, which I haven't read yet, but it obviously chronicles what happens to him. So the show ends on such a big cliffhanger where they've decided now that they're like, screw Wolfman and Hart, we're going to kill all their high paying clients.
Yeah.
And hell is literally open on them in the laneway. It's all raining and moody. And that's it. Angel, I think the thing Angel says, Spike is like, well, what's the plan? And he goes, well, personally, I want to slay the dragon. And then I think the show just ends.
Well, very much like Buffy, I don't think they were particularly ready for it to end.
No.
I much like with Buffy as well, I think they kind of wanted to keep going.
Yeah, I think if Joss Whedon had his way, it'd never end.
Hence, there are the rumblings of a reboot of Buffy coming.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, which I was going to ask your thoughts on. I asked Raven in our previous episodes about it as well. Now, it does seem, from what I read on it, it does seem that it's a Buffy reboot, but chances are it's not Buffy. If that makes sense.
Yeah, from what I've seen,
it's going to be a different character. It's more likely going under a different title. And
it's just an extension of the universe by the sound of it.
Yes.
I don't know an awful lot about it. What I've kind of done is there's been a lot of news of stuff, especially just getting in trouble lately. I kind of just ignore that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
like I keep a brief eye on it, but I'm more just interested in the comics currently. So
that's fair.
I just know from what I've seen that Sarah Michelle Gellar won't be in it.
No.
James Marsters wans to be in it, but he knows he's too old to play Spike because obviously they're not supposed to age. And David Boreanaz has his own TV show. So
James Marsters still looks good, man. I mean,
he does. I watched an interview with him, not like very recent one, and he looks fantastic. And his hair hasn't fallen out for being peroxided every week for like 6 years.
And it's still peroxided. It's amazing. So, carrying on anyway, we're going to move on to the part of the show where I'm going to tell Alex some little facts. Now, Alex has proven himself to be a bit of an encyclopedia with all things Angel, so I'm sure he probably knows all of these. But Alex, as I read them out, please tell me if you know them, if you would like to elaborate on them at the time, or if you have anything that you want to contribute as well to it, by all means. So I'm going to start with one. This is titled "Fred Would Have Come Back."
Oh, okay.
So, so one of Whedon's kind of cruelest ideas was the end of Winifred Burkle, right? Who's Fred. So basically, after being inhabited by an ancient demon, Fred's soul was destroyed to make room for this demon in her body. Really, really devastating kind of storyline. Amy Acker, fantastic in the role.
Very surprisingly fantastic. Not in an insulting way, just for how the character is played. And then Illyria is a badass.
But Fred and Wesley had just started seeing each other, am I correct?
Yes, after a very back and forward.
Yes, and then Fred was kind of taken away from us, and she was replaced by Illyria. which I'm probably mispronouncing, but anyway. But the original plan, and I'm not sure if you're aware of this, again, please let me know, but was to split the two characters and have Acker play both Fred and her evil counterpart.
I didn't know that, but what I will say is that is a situation currently in the comic book.
In After the Fall, correct. That does happen in After the Fall. But it
I've
is something that they were going to do in the
part.
Yeah, I didn't want to say it in case you hadn't reached that part. I didn't want to ruin it.
I know enough. Like, I know how the entire thing ends, so it's not really a spoiler.
Yeah, but fair enough. Moving on then is so Doyle would have come back as a villain.
Oh no! I was actually really annoyed originally that they replaced Doyle with Wesley,
because unfortunately they had to, because the actor Glenn Quinn did pass away sadly.
Yes, I didn't know that at the time. I was like, Doyle is such a better character. I don't like Wesley; he's an idiot.
It was very, very sad and very tragic, of course. But and that did derail it. But originally, so Doyle was a demon with a heart of gold, that kind of thing.
Especially because he was Irish.
Yes, and he used to see visions of people in trouble, and that was sent from the powers that be, and it kind of let the investigation team have a little heads up on everything. And he was devoted, I think it's fair to say, to Cordelia.
Yes,
and
he was enamored.
Sometimes she'd reciprocate and sometimes she wouldn't. But basically, his heroism led to his death, when he kind of sacrificed himself for everything. Now, the supervising producer, Nick Fury, pointed out, the supervising producer's name was Nick Fury, which is amazing, right? He pointed out that Doyle actually stuck around longer than he was originally planned. The character was only supposed to stick around for the first few episodes of the first season, and that was it. There were plans to bring him back in season 4. And it would have been as a big bad type villain. Unfortunately, as we said, Glenn Quinn did pass away, and that nixed those plans, because they didn't want, in honor of his memory, they didn't want to recast the part of Doyle.
Okay, wow. I had no idea about that. Season 4 is regarded the worst season.
Right. So, and you see, and that's interesting to think how it could have been different.
Yeah, and that happens to season 5 of Buffy, I think. There's one really bad season of both shows, sadly. Even though they have really good bits in them, it's such a slog to try to watch. You're devoted to the characters at this point, so you will get through it. So I wasn't aware of that. But from my memory, Doyle dies very early on in the first season of Angel as well. It's maybe it's halfway through the season or something, but he dies so fast. So even to know they planned that is quite impressive. I guess it would have been in similar vein to Spike, who was supposed to get killed by Angel.
Yes, it was kind of, again, the popularity with the fans kind of brought him in, Now, next one. Did you know Ben Affleck was in an episode?
I think I did see this.
In the episode Double or Nothing.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Gunn reveals he sold his soul a few years back and has to gamble to get it back. At some point, he and his girlfriend, Fred, who we talked about, have dinner at a restaurant where they argue, and Ben Affleck is seen eating in the restaurant. So there you go.
Does that mean that Bruce Wayne is in Angel? Is that how this works?
Coincidentally, the next fact is David Boreanaz was up for Batman.
I did know this because this was he was going to replace, or it wasn't going to be Christian Bale, wasn't it? Not. It was, they wanted to use David Boreanaz. Was it?
It was. Actually, it was. Here you go. It was Boreanaz was actually instead of Bale. It wasn't going to replace him. It was going to be Christopher Nolan. Apparently had his eye on Boreanaz, and kind of specifically, he had seen him in Angel, and it was the brooding, dark character that obviously The Dark Knight took a grittier reboot. I could see it working.
Do you know how I judge someone's going to be a decent Batman is by what their chin looks like in the cowl. So
that's a fantastic one.
So when people said Robert
solely
Pattinson,
on your chin,
like when people told me Robert Pattinson was going to be Batman, they were like, "No, that's dumb. He was in Twilight." Like, look at his chin and tell me you cannot see him in a batsuit. No, I was well aware of that, and I kind of fangirled about that because I was like, "Man, that'd be so good." But I'm also thinking, yeah, okay, David Boreanaz would make a great Batman, but I don't think he'd have it to be Bruce. I think that's my standing with that because, yeah, he has a lot of experience being that brooding kind of guy. And I think there's probably a few Batman jokes in Angel because he's constantly standing on rooftops in his flowing trench coat and he jumps off. Like, it's all there. Yeah, I don't think he'd be able to carry, like, he's very, like, and this is something I noticed from watching Bones before this, is that David Boreanaz just plays the same kind of person in things. And it's just been probably how he was told to play roles. Okay. But if you look how Booth in Bones acts, he's the very cockiness and like the funnier sides of Angel. So I don't think that would work as well for Bruce because Bruce is very charming and very
and that's kind of the whole point is that you don't kind of associate him with Batman in a way
like
because
maybe
he's charming, he's outgoing, he's you know, he's a womanizer, he's not afraid to kind of be a socialite.
My final standing on the David Boreanaz as Batman is that he would have been better than George Clooney, and I think that is a very.
But would he have had nipples? That's what matters.
No comment.
Right, next fact. Here's one you may or may not have known. Again, after years of narrowly escaping death at the hands of all manner of creature, from demons to Angel to her own bosses, Lila Morgan finally got by Cordelia.
Yes.
After letting Angelus out to roam the Hyperion Hotel and hopefully knock out as many of the Angel investigation team as possible, Cordelia kills Lila herself. Well, Jasmine, wearing Cordelia's face, killed Lila.
Yes, that whole thing.
Yes. However, in order to protect the twist, showrunners filmed Angelus killing Lila. Yeah.
Okay.
So they actually filmed a different scene with Angelus killing Lila to protect this big twist that they had going on as well.
That makes a lot more sense because I had the habit of, before I could find Angel on anything, I just watch kind of like funny clips or whatever that would just pop up on my YouTube. And I swear to God, I had seen him do that. And I was like, I'd forgotten about it. That I had seen him kill her. And then when it came to the show, I was like, oh, this looks really familiar.
Yeah, what the hell's going on here? So just two more little facts for you, and then we'll move on to our little quiz, Alex. Thank you very much for your time, of course. I don't want to take up too much of it, but
I'm only going back to watching Angel, so you're really...
That's what we like to hear. So there's a reason that there was, and I'm sure you noticed it, there was no Buffy crossover in season 3.
Okay.
So the reason of that, for that rather, it was during season 3 of Angel and it would have been season 6 of Buffy. There weren't any crossovers between the two shows.
Season 5 of Buffy.
Sorry, you're correct. Season 5, yes, there wasn't any crossover between the two shows, purely because Buffy had switched networks.
Yeah.
So that's basically that stopped it just for that season. Now it did kick back in. It was kind of before Buffy's series finale because I think, it would have been important to have Angel around for the series.
Yeah, Angel shows up in the last.
Yeah,
two
so
last
they
episodes.
did get it resolved, but for that specific season, the reason there is no crossover is because there was a change in networks for Buffy.
Yeah, and I think from what I've seen on that before was they were constantly having issues trying to push Buffy, especially with the whole Willow and Tara relationship.
Yes,
they weren't allowed to kiss because the network, was it the WB, thought they were
WB they were with originally, and then they went to UPN.
Yeah, because I know Angel was on WB, so that would be...
That's right.
But that was very strange because they let Angel be super dark. And maybe that was because the concept they had pushed to them.
I think, again, it's down to what they viewed as who the demographic was.
Yeah, because going on my brother's knowledge when he'd watched it airing was that Buffy would be on first and then Angel would be on right after
Exactly.
that.
That's exactly
it was like the watershed, I guess, time.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's really interesting. I also just took that, though, as them giving Angel his own space.
And you see, that's the way I think it worked out nicely, because it didn't happen like late in Angel, if you know what I mean. It happened midway.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like I could see it having a detrimental effect if it was like early on in Angel, where he may have needed a little boost from.
Yeah, obviously, you're always going to have that crossover of things.
Yes.
When it's trying to get its legs, but they really definitively push them away from each other. They have a massive argument again over Faith. And
yes.
Buffy takes some blows about her new boyfriend, who nobody likes because he's really boring. So and then I don't think the next time they interact is just an apology, and then they don't talk to each other. Again, it must be down to the network, but they don't talk to each other until the end. Again, I'm pretty sure.
I think you're actually correct on that. Yeah. Now that may have been down to the network again. Now finally, so you probably remember the What If episode, Birthday, which kind of Cordelia finds out what her life would have been like if she hadn't gone to work for Angel.
She has her sitcom.
Yes, exactly. So she winds up in a coma from a vision, and a demon named Skip offers her the opportunity to choose a path in which she never received Doyle's visions, because the visions from Doyle passed to Cordelia. And she's instead a famous actress, which is what she always wanted to be. So basically, it's a big send up of It's a Wonderful Life. It has some real stuff when Cordy kind of discovers that Angel received Doyle's visions in her stead, and he's been driven mad by them. And one of the episode lighter notes, though, was Cordelia's sitcom Cordy, as Alex mentioned there. Now, predictably, what we saw in the episode was pretty terrible. But as it turns out, there's more. Producers actually shot the opening credits 7 minutes of the full project, but no one thought it was very funny, so it was cut. So they actually shot quite a bit of Cordy.
Oh, wow.
Nobody thought it was funny, so they nixed it.
This is one of those things you wonder. That is actually, I have forgotten about that episode entirely, because poor Cordy gets into comas several times.
Yeah.
But the bit where Angel is driven insane is really kind of sad, because he is proper lost it, pushed by these visions. And I think just before this, they deal with Cordelia having a little bit of a drug problem, because she's taking all these painkillers and she's going to the hospital a lot due to the visions. But they're not aware of it.
Yeah.
I like, though, that they decided to shoot, because that clearly was not going to be a good show by herself.
No.
They've tried to push other things off the ground. I'm pretty sure there's a Spike comic written mostly by James Marsters that's called Into the Light, and it's about Spike trying to get new boots. But he's trying to be good, so he doesn't have any money, but he doesn't want to rob anyone. So I don't know what actually happens, but I know that's the premise.
Okay.
But that was pitched
as a movie. Worse, but not many worse.
That was pitched as a TV movie.
Oh, originally. God. Okay.
I have full faith in that idea, because it's a good comic, apparently.
Fair enough.
And then Giles nearly got his own TV show called Ripper, which would have been him.
That is completely correct. In fact, that is what they think the name of the new Buffy reboot would be Ripper. Yes.
See, I'd be into that instead of just giving us a new Slayer. I know there's a lot of Slayers now, and you could definitely go down that route. But I'd love to see what a young Giles was like, because there is a Buffy episode where there is a young Giles.
That's right, yeah.
And it's kind of horrific in a good way. I like this episode, but it's traumatic watching her. Yeah.
That's fair. Okay, well, with that said, Alex, we're going to move on to a little quiz for you. Now, I'm not going to lie, I think it's a pretty easy quiz, especially easy for you. I wouldn't have gotten this at all. But for someone with kind of your knowledge on Angel, I'm sure it'll be a walk in the park.
Gonna botch it,
which would be absolutely just better. But we're gonna see how you do.
Right.
Now I gotta say, I mean, Raven did a quiz as well. I think she only got one wrong.
Oh wow! This is high pressure.
And likewise, Matt Schuyler had a quiz on MCU. I think he only got 2 wrong. So yeah, look, we're our experts are pretty up there. So I'm
the
expecting
wrestling
big
nerds.
things. I'm expecting big things. All
Out
right.
of wrestling nerds, I can't be the worst.
From a man that has beaten me up many, many times, right, and hurt me. If you don't do well on this, I'm going to be very, very, very disappointed in you.
All respect lost.
I won't be angry. I'll just be disappointed. Right.
I think I'm ready.
Right. Okay. So start off with a nice, easy one. In which city was Angel set?
California. No, LA.
Correct. I knew. I went, oh my God, no. You're correct. Well done. As a human, what nationality was Angel?
Irish.
Correct.
Or are we going Caucasian? Are we getting that specific?
No, I'm not. Jesus. I'm not opening that kind of worm. What was the name of the benevolent powers that helped? Now, sorry, just to interrupt myself very quickly here. If you are struggling with any question, just say the word, and what I'll do is I'll give you a multiple choice.
Okay.
Okay, so I won't give you a multiple choice unless you ask for it. Okay? It's kind of like a lifeline. What was the name of the benevolent powers that helped Angel?
So I don't need a lifeline, but is this specifically ones he's communicated with? Because there's the overall powers that be. So
it would be the overarching one. Exactly. You got it. Okay. You got it right. It was the powers that be.
Because my other answer would have been the oracles, because they communicate directly with him.
Yeah, but it was more. I suppose it was more the kind of the overarching.
Well, I got it.
The one you got it right. Yeah. So, what line of work was Cordelia initially pursuing when she went to Los Angeles?
She tried to be an actress.
Correct. We're getting there. What group is Angel's nemesis for most of the series? Now, come on, man.
I believe they were another detective. No, it was the Wolfram and Hart law firm.
Correct. Oh, he got the whole lot. The Wolfram and Hart law firm. That is right. Now,
specifically the California branch.
What was the slogan of Angel Investigations? Now, I'm going to need the exact slogan because you've said it a couple of times, but a couple of times you've said it wrong.
Oh, did I?
Yes. So be careful and decide if you want to use that lifeline or not.
I'm gonna. Do I have to call you on this? I feel like I'm right. Because I specifically have the image of Cordelia in my head answering the phone.
So you see, okay, I have to cut a bit of slack for this because I know you. So what? Okay, tell me what you're going to say.
Hello, this is Angel Investigations. We help the hopeless.
We help the helpless.
Is it actually?
Yes.
Damn, I've always read that as we help the hopeless.
Yeah, apparently. Now again, I'm all up for you sending me a message later on tonight going, you fucking idiot, you got this fucking wrong.
I'll get the audio cue out now.
I'm all up for that. But according to what I'm seeing here, Angel kept his slogan pretty simple. We're not sure potential clients would want to think of themselves as helpless, but it seems to have drummed up business. That's what I'm getting here is we help the helpless.
Okay, wait, hold on. Just give me 2 seconds. I'm not doing this out of spite. It's actually just for my own side.
I'm absolutely fine with it. I'm always up to being proven wrong.
Okay.
Angel Investigations, we help the hopeless.
I think it's just her accent.
Maybe it is, because it is like you do have to pay attention.
To be fair, I think it's just the accent because I could hear both in that.
Oh.
To be fair.
I like the technicality of this.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm going to give it to you. Because after hearing it, like honestly, it's I think it's her accent.
Who knew Americans don't speak British?
Right, we're getting just a touch more difficult.
Okay.
Very difficult, but just a touch. Who played the rogue demon hunter Wesley Wyndham Price?
Alexis Denisof.
Ooh, very good. Yes.
Because he is married to Willow, Alison Hannigan, in real life.
Correct. Yeah, actually, she was on it. She actually showed up in Angel as Willow as well.
Which is a great scene for anyone who overall likes the show because she thinks Fred is flirting with her.
Yes. Next up, what was Wesley's previous job?
He was a watcher.
That's correct. Who or what was Pylea?
Pylea is the hell dimension that my favorite character, Lorne, comes from, who is a green-skinned demon who owns a karaoke bar.
Damn it! You're getting the questions ahead of time. Who became the princess of Pylea?
Cordelia.
Correct. Now, to what hotel did Angel Investigations move after their offices were destroyed?
Oh, because you said this earlier and I completely forgot the name of the place until you said it.
Now, again, I can give you multiple choice at any point. Don't let that pride get in the way, son.
If you know anything about Alex Grayson, his pride is very low. If I can't grab something by the eyes, it's generally not worth doing. Is it the Hyperion?
Correct. Jesus, well done. Well done. Who played even Winifred Burkle?
Oh,
I mentioned it earlier as well.
Yeah, she has a weird name as well. It's Amy Ackle?
I'll give it to you. Amy Acker.
Acker, close.
Close enough, close enough. You knew who it was.
The one with the glasses.
What did Angel learn at the end of season 2?
End of season 2.
Yeah.
At the end of season 1, he finds a prophecy which tells him he can be a human. End of season 2. I'm even trying to think about who was like the overall. Oh, there wasn't really an overall bad in season
2. I can either give you a hint or I can give you multiple choice if you prefer.
Okay, now just give me one more second.
Okay.
I'm gonna try it just out of pure memory because I think I like season 2 really well.
I know it's kind of a nebulous question as well. It's kind of open.
Yeah.
What did he learn?
I'll I'll use my lifeline.
Which one would you like? Multiple choice? Multiple choice. Okay. So is it A, he accidentally married someone in Pylea? B, he can now walk in the sun? C, he's in love with Cordelia? Or D, Buffy has died?
Oh, it's Buffy has died. I should have known that.
Correct. To be fair, again, that was quite an open question. That could have been...
You almost threw me off because one of the answers there of being he can walk in daylight is what he can do in Pylea.
That's right. My hint was going to be basically death isn't permanent.
Oh, that's a good one. You know, I like that.
But anyway, we'll continue on. Who was Connor?
Connor is Angel's miracle son.
Correct. With which disease did Darla return to Earth?
Disease? Oh, it is. Oh, it's a sexual one because she was a prosy. Oh, I'm gonna say.
Again, the same options are available.
I'm gonna say it was syphilis.
Holy shit, Alex Grayson, you are correct.
Yes. And the only reason I remember that is because it's a joke in Buffy. Because Xander gets cursed with syphilis by this like Indian dude and he just keeps making funny jokes about it.
So basically, yeah, Darla got syphilis as a human, but then becoming a vampire kind of stopped the disease because technically she was dead.
Yes.
And then becoming human again restarted the disease.
Yeah, that's what it was. I knew it was something like that. I was going to say HIV, but I was like, I feel like that's a little too modern.
That's a bit too much. Yeah.
It's too modern was my point.
True. Yeah, that too. Yeah. Who resired Darla?
Resired was Drusilla.
Correct. What did Gunn do before joining Angel Investigations?
He was a street thug who took out vampires with his mates.
Correct. He was a rogue vampire hunter. That is correct.
Oh, your answer is a lot clearer. I was like, he's a thug.
Thug boy. Who stole the infant Connor from Angel? You actually told us about this earlier on.
It was Wesley.
Correct. Why did Connor's age accelerate so quickly?
Because it's elaborated that in the Angel or the Buffy universe, that Hell moves a lot faster in time than Earth.
Correct. In the Hell dimension, yeah, that basically he spent time in the Hell dimension, and that's why it accelerated. What was Caritas?
Caritas is Lauren's karaoke bar, which sadly gets blown up several times.
Correct. It kind of had a neutral territory policy. So basically, all kind of creatures were welcome, and there was like no fighting or anything like that.
Poor Lauren doesn't want to deal with any of this. He just tries to help.
Exactly. What color was Lauren's skin?
I really answered questions.
Yeah, you did.
He was green.
Where did Darla and Drusilla kill a group of Wolfram and Hart lawyers?
My instinct is to say it was in one of the, like, was it the shareholder, like the main shareholder? It was his basement.
Going to need a little more specific than that. Okay, again, I can give hint or I can give multiple choice.
I can't remember the character's name. I just know he was the boss of Lindsay and like the main lawyers that you meet. He's Lindsay's boss, and they have a meeting in a basement. I just always assumed it was his house.
Well, you see, it could have been, but it could have been a part of that. Let me give you a hint. Okay. I'm going to give you a hint.
Oh, it's like a wine cellar.
Ah, there you go. I was good. And my hint was going to be maybe they were drunk at the time.
Yeah,
you know?
It's a wine cellar.
That's correct. It is a wine cellar. What was the name of the werewolf with a romantic yen for Angel?
Oh, and she's in the comic as well. I couldn't remember who she was. Is it actually? I'm gonna go a little bit of a tangent. My favorite scene with this person is when Angel gets turned into a puppet and she accidentally rips him apart. Which is my favorite episode, I think.
That's brilliant.
Is her name Nina?
You are correct, son. Oh. Jeez, this is impressive. I gotta say, we got a few more still.
I challenge Matt and Raven.
Let's keep this going. Let's see if we can get perfect. That's what we're aiming for.
Okay.
Which character was imprisoned in a box and sunk into the ocean?
Angel himself.
Correct. Spike from Buffy came to Los Angeles in what form?
Okay. So I'm gonna get technical just to clear myself, so I don't get it wrong.
Okay.
So technically, Spike was dead. So he technically arrives in an amulet originally, but once they open the amulet, he becomes non-corporeal. But then he goes in and out of being corporeal, so he keeps walking into walls accidentally.
That's actually correct. He came as a ghost essentially. He got a corporeal body back thanks to Wolfram and Hart. So yes, you're correct.
I'd like to say also that in the same episode as a puppet, the only time Spike appears is when Angel has just realized what's happened to him. So he's in a really bad mood, and Angel comes in looking for, or Spike comes in looking for her car. And the literal thing, he's like, no, don't say it. Don't say it. He goes, you're a bloody puppet. And they have a massive brawl into the middle of the whole, like they destroy doors and stuff. And then they go into an elevator, and Angel comes back out and Spike's bleeding on the floor. And that's the only time you see him in that episode.
That's brilliant. That's all you need, though. It's just that little bit will do, you know?
Oh, he's so good. So good.
Who killed the treacherous Professor Sido? Or Seidel, rather.
Fred?
No. That's not right.
Oh, no, I've ruined it.
It was Gunn.
Oh, you are right. Yes. But Fred takes it on as she did it in her head.
That's correct. That's why it was a tricky one. That's correct. Basically, she wanted to kill him herself, but Gunn intervened.
Yes.
Worried what effect it would have on her soul.
Imagine being that good of a person, huh?
I know. What happened to Angel on the episode Smile Time?
Yeah, which I've referenced several times already. He gets turned into a puppet, and he's the cutest little puppet possible.
Which two characters vied for control of Wolfram and Hart in later seasons?
Okay, so I assume it's Lindsay. What is her name? I can't remember her name.
I will accept just first names. Like, it doesn't have to be full names or anything like that.
Yeah, it's after go like completely.
That's fine.
It's Lindsay and I can't think of her name.
Again, the rules are still the same. I can give a hint or I can give multiple choice.
Give you a hint.
Give you a hint?
Yeah.
They both had L names.
Oh, damn, that doesn't help. It's Lindsay and
we have spoken about this person.
I know, and I always forget her name somehow. Lila
Correct.
Morgan.
Correct. Lindsay McDonald and Lila Morgan.
Oh, yeah, because they had very similar names.
That's right, yeah. Which of these characters masterminded Iliara's return to Earth? This is a multiple choice, by the way.
Oh, okay.
A, Cordelia, B, Knox, C, Connor, or D, Gunn?
Yeah, it was Knox. Who I think actually as a character I feel like he deserved a little bit more time.
That's right. Didn't he have a crush on Fred?
Yeah, like so Knox is just one of the scientists that work in Wolfram Hart, which should have been an obvious sign that he wasn't going to be as good as he was coming across as.
Yes.
But I feel like the whole thing got a little rushed. I suppose it was down to them being well aware now that they're not going to get another season.
Yeah, it was later on.
Because if you watch like season 5, there's no coherent story really. It's just them dealing with working for Wolfram and Hart now. And then in the last like 4 or 5 episodes, probably less actually, it's probably the last 3 episodes, everything just escalates, which makes really good TV.
But it was quite clear that they were attempting to.
Yeah, Knox just makes appearances every now and again, and he's kind of cutie with Fred, and you're like, okay, whatever. And then he just turns out to be really evil and obsessed with a god. And I'm like, that felt a bit rushed, but I understand how.
We're down to the last few now, Alex, and you're doing really well. Only one incorrect.
I'm still upset.
Which character was played by Mercedes McNabb?
Which character?
Yes. Again, these are, you see, we're into the tougher ones.
It's she's Harmony.
I'm so impressed. Yes, it is. Which character was in a coma for a long time?
Poor Cordelia.
That is correct.
I only found out why recently.
Why she was in a coma?
Yeah, not because of the show writing. It was purely down to Joss Whedon.
Yeah, Charisma Carpenter and Joss Whedon had a falling out, I do believe.
She got pregnant.
Yeah, and
he was like, "All right, well, you're going in a coma now."
Yeah, it was very. We're getting into the whole Joss Whedon thing now, and I'm not wading into that whole shit show. But that is what there was a conflict there in real life. To be honest, I kind of liked her exit for a brief while because she was very heavily involved, and then she wasn't involved, which kind of gets left breathing room, I guess, for the other characters. It did, but it is kind of very jolting for such a major character to kind of be taken out like that.
I think for the extent she was gone, I think was very jolting.
Yes.
But for like a brief period of time, it gave Fred and Gunn such a more of a stage to do something.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's you see it everywhere. It's like, when somebody majors down, the others have to step up and fill in the void. So it kind of meant others got more stories. It worked out
quite well.
Yeah. Continue on. Who killed Lindsay McDonald?
Lauren shot him.
Correct.
Right at the end.
That was kind of the conclusion of Lauren's descent into a kind of a morally conflicted character.
There's a very, very good precursor thing to this, where they're all very quickly being told what to do by Angel in their grand plan to try to take down Wolfram and Hart. And Lauren I think it's probably center shot or whatever, goes over and tells Angel, after this, I'm done. Yes. And you're like, oh, well, he just doesn't want to be involved anymore. I guess that's fair enough. But what he's asked them to do is obviously so heartbreaking, because Lauren doesn't fight. He gets knocked out an awful lot and his horn breaks a lot.
he basically tells them that he'll have nothing to do with them anymore, essentially.
Yeah. Oh, it's so hard for Lauren.
Now we're down to our last 2 questions. Oh. And now these ones you may or may not find tough, but they are both about the actors and who they portrayed.
Okay.
So, who portrayed Connor?
Oh, okay. I know I've slagged Connor a lot.
And again, the same rules for both these questions apply. I can either give a hint or I can give you multiple choice if you'd like.
Okay. I'm just trying to picture their intro.
Yeah.
That's how, because the intro is quite good. So I'm
yeah, yeah, it's a great one. And of course, that's where you would see the credits. That's kind of where you would link it.
He has a lot of the actors have like strange last names, don't they? It's Vincent. It's like
it is a really tough second name. I kind of
or something.
Yeah, I'm going to give that to you because I was actually going to give it to you for Vincent because that second name is Cartizer.
Yeah, like
yeah. It's a weird one, but he also went on to play a key role in Mad Men.
Did he?
He did indeed. Later on, and finally, Alex Grayson, who played Lorne.
Oh, and I should know this because I know how he got the role, so I should know his name. Okay. I don't even think Lorne gets a character intro for ages either.
He probably wouldn't actually, because he would have started out as a minor side character, really.
From what I know, he's a friend of Joss Whedon. He wasn't an actor who could just sing.
Again, I can give you the hint, or I can give you multiple choice. But you're doing so well, I don't want to help you too much. So, but I'm keeping the same rules: hint or multiple choice if you want.
Is it Andy Hallett?
Oh my lord! Yes, correct.
Oh, what a man! Thank you, Lorne.
Lorne was originally first known as just the host.
Yeah, he didn't have a name.
That's right. Now, sadly, Hallett has since passed away.
Oh no, has he?
In 2009, he died of an existing heart condition. Sadly, but yes, Alex Grayson won.
I'm so disappointed, and I didn't even think about it. I just said it.
One incorrect. Trust me, not bad at all. And with that, we're going to wrap it up for this episode of Comics and Beyond. I've been Cutter. Alex Grayson, I want to thank you so much for spending some time with me today and having a chat about all things Angel, encouraging the good folks out there to go and have a watch of it. Is there anywhere that if anybody wants to get in touch with you, they can on social media, etc.?
I should have thought about this in advance. Well, I'd like to thank you for letting me ramble so much about it. I'm not very Twitter active, so my Instagram.
I'd say I blame you right now.
I just don't like social media.
That's fair.
My Instagram is _Alex_Grayson_. So follow me on that. I'm always posting things on my story about Angel. So
there you go, folks. And for us, you can check out Nerds Are Us on Twitter, and you can drop us a message there if there's any episodes you'd like to see in the future. Also, drop a like, comment, subscribe. If there is anything, again, you would like to hear myself or any guest talk about in the future, any guests you would like to see on the show, please do let us know. And also, while you're there, make sure you check out any other of our fine shows that are on the Nerds Are Us channel too. One last time, I've been Cutter. He's been Alex Grayson. Thank you very much, and we'll see you soon.
You're so professional.